Chapter 12 of Friday Night Lights. The chapter was called Civil War. And basically the whole chapter was about how Permian had lost to Midland that year. They lost, this is 1988, they lost 22-21. And they talked about the dislike of those two towns, those two communities, those two peoples for each other. And a lot of the chapter, they talked about the seriousness of Permian football. Like, people, they described it as like being treated like gods. They said in the chapter that most people couldn't even tell you like who was on city council, who was on school board, but they could tell you who the head coach, football coach was for the football team, or who the players were on the team. They said that when they lost that game to Midland, one of the players, I believe his name was Brian Chavez, he had for sale signs, and his people had planted for sale signs in his front yard after the game. It also talked about a horrible news article that was written about Coach Gaines. And it talked about how one of the citizens had said, who was a big supporter, wanted Gaines fired. Didn't think he was doing a good job. Talked about a player named Jared McDougal. His dad had got rich off of a construction company he started. He talked about his disappointment with Coach Gaines and the way he felt he kind of maybe have lost the game by his play calling and stuff like that. Jared was feeling like feelings of hopelessness over that loss. And it was kind of stated in the chapter that the only way that Coach Gaines could make amends for the loss to Midland was to win the state title. And even then, that's still not make up with it, because you got to dread that loss for another year. So that's kind of what the chapter was about. Chapter 12, Friday Night Lights, was called Civil War.